Okay, so Oracle cards. Everyone pretty much is familiar with Oracle cards now. We all have a deck, at least one, our own. We've used them. What I wanted to do a little bit was like with everything else, find our way. Um, one second. So find our ways that we can work with the Oracle cards to empower ourselves to get more clear. And the one thing I know for sure that I think is not taught enough, and I think it probably is the hardest thing, is what happened as well with the pendulums. And that's being able to get grounded enough to use the tool. So it's not necessarily, I always joke, it's like, me with computers and technology. I really have no idea of all the features until my husband shows me, and then I'm like, it can do that? And he goes, yes, it can. So I really feel like Oracle cards, pendulums, there's so much we can tap into as tools, but we as the users have to have the knowledge, but we also have to be grounded. And that's the number one thing when you're using any tool, anything, is that you have to be grounded. So Oracle cards aren't necessarily the tools I go to become grounded. Yet often what we do is we want a quick answer, we want a solution, we want to reach outside ourselves when we're not feeling grounded or sure. And that's why I notice the most people who, and even myself, will struggle with interpreting the cards, or maybe getting frustrated with the cards, not understanding, or maybe even more confusion sometimes. It's like with the pendulum, it's usually because we're not grounded, centered, and or the question that we're using. So we practiced earlier, I can't remember which week, maybe which week 5, to work with questions and wording and how important that is. And this was necessary to build on for the Oracle cards. And originally I wanted to do Oracle cards first because they're fun and I love them. But I realized how important it is to ask the right questions, or ask a question that when you're present and grounded and aligned, that the universe is a little bit more clear so that we can tune in. So how do you ground and use your cards when you're not feeling grounded? I do exactly what I did when I just started. First thing first, I'm going to smudge, I'm going to clear the energy. So that's my number one. I'm going to clear, I'm going to smudge. I will also use essential oils. I'll use essential oils for myself. I'll diffuse them. So I'll put them on my wrist. You can put them behind your ear. We talked about putting it at your ankles. You can put it there. Back and neck is really nice. Again, a little goes a long way. You may have to dilute them and or you can diffuse them. But that's my number one. Energies of essential oils that I use to ground are typically spruce, pine, so thinking of, trees, very grounding energy, very soothing. Frankincense is really nice. Rosemary, eucalyptus, they all bring a certain clarity, and people will often, if you ever see a focus blend, they tend to have peppermint or something that's going to really bring you centered, that idea of focusing, being aligned, being centered. So that is my foundation when I want to work with cards. And I always know when I pick a card where my energy's at by the type of card I get it. And sometimes the universe and the cards can be really sassy and I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to, and other times I can pick a card and I'm like, oh, I'm not resonating. I don't feel it. I'm like, bah. And that's when I know my juju of working with a tool is off. I also know it for clients. I know it with friends. They'll be like, can you pick a card? And I'm like, you can overdo it. Like with essential oils and crystals, you can overdo it with oracle cards. So do you use it every day? Absolutely. And I would encourage you in the beginning, like maybe you pick one card a day, like what, asking a really good question to frame around it, like what do I need to heal today, or um, what do I need to know today, or what would help me to get through the day smoother? Or if you're going through a transition, like right now, it's such a hard year for everyone. It's like, okay, so, what information am I missing? Like, what kind of guidance do I require? And that's the kind of card you could pick every day, and have it themed. Or you could pick one for the week. But if you feel like you have a big issue right now or something really strong in your life, it's like you want that to keep picking cards and expecting different outcomes or different cards. There's an overwhelm that can happen, just like when you overdo it with the essential oils or you take crystals. It's like more isn't better. Bigger crystal isn't necessarily better. It can overwhelm you. When I went mining at the mine, the rose quartz one, I was overwhelmed by the energy. It was so much. So it also, like quartz crystal, will amplify. And that's why you want to be mindful when you're asking a question to be in a state, where you can receive the information. I'm just going to ask, sorry, Tim, I was trying to figure it out. I don't know if there's background noise. I'm just going to double check if you want to mute. If I can mute you, if that's okay. I just muted you, if that's okay. I was hearing some feedback. I'm not sure. I don't know if anyone else could hear it, but so that's one thing that for me is really, really key and shifted when I started working with oracle cards. Also creating the space. So often we will pick a card and there's Mel. So often we'll pick a card and it might be like you're on the go, or maybe you're out and about. I remember once, I can't remember if I shared it in this series, if there was another one, a friend of mine had just gotten a new deck and I should have known better. I was in a cafeteria in our workplace, and I had past life deck and I was so excited to open it and christen the deck, and I'm like, let's go, let's do the cards. And the first one went to her deepest core wound. And she looked at me and I looked at her and I went, okay, not the place. I'm going to put these away. And I'm really sorry, because it's almost as if like I just went in and was like literally going into her deepest wound, that could potentially be a huge trigger. So while they are wonderful tools, there's also, and it's not to be afraid of them, it's more in respect for yourself, respect for someone else. So make sure you're in a space that if you're really wanting to work with cards and you want an answer, and I feel in my chest now, is that you create the space for it. You create the energy, the sacredness, the container for working with the cards, because it's really easy to use them anywhere and everywhere. And I used to do that, and now I'll actually go, okay, I'm going to do my cards after, when it's quiet, or I'm alone, that sort of thing, where I can be grounded, smudge. The physical environment can play a factor into, in my experience, into the card. So just be mindful of that. Just be aware. But that one experience with a new deck was enough to go, okay, I'm going to give a little bit more respect for myself, for other people as well. And had that been for myself, I could have went in and picked a card that would have been right, in the heart chakra, like a really deep wound. So they can be very helpful and sometimes can trigger if you're working with certain decks. So that was a past life deck to work at releasing, and so it was going to go there in the space where it was going to trigger and really to help you to heal and to move on. But again, right place, right time would be appropriate. Emotionally, I agree with that. Spiritually, having a clean space. Also, when you're in an area where you're not alone, you have other people's energy. I once was at a read with a really good friend who's amazing medium. but she gave a reading to my friend that I knew was for me. Like we just knew, like it was like our energies were so entwined. So be mindful of that as well. When you're doing a card, or if you're doing a reading for yourself or for someone else, be mindful of your sacred space, because you may be picking up on other energies or other people. Here's us. Is it true? I've never heard that. I've always bought decks for myself. Yeah, I've never heard that. I guess it depends. If that's your point of view and you buy it, then yeah, use it. I've heard that for opals. That's about it. That you should be gifted them. I've always bought most of my decks. I have been gifted some or lent some in exchange and that sort of thing. I don't mind sharing my deck with other people. Oh, for tarot. Yeah, maybe with tarot. I did kind of indirectly get one from someone. Use sets. Yeah. So like same thing when you're creating the space, if you have a used deck or a new deck, you always want to smudge them, kind of clear them so you can work with the selenite. Is really nice. You can set on the deck, creating the space for the deck also will clear it. Working with even the sound frequencies. So I was telling you last week about the tincture bells, they clear energy. So tincture bells, if you don't have someone, if you have someone who's sensitive to smudge and you wanted to clear them, that would work. Essential oils in a spritzer, with some crystals. You can put this under the moonlight and put some Palo Santo or sage in it or cedar wood, and then that would be a really nice smudge to clear the space when you're going to do a card. But it doesn't have to be long. Like this isn't ever really a long ritual for myself unless I'm working with clients or I want to do some deeper work with myself. But you'll get a better result. You'll always get a better result when you take the time to do this. And the second part of working with oracle cards is to really try to get at the heart of and the like the juiciness of the question that you really want to ask. It'll help you frame the question. So I've had some people come for a session, they want to know, am I going to get a Mercedes? And then I hear spirit say to me, like, why do you need the Mercedes? Right? Do you have a job? Is it for status? Is it whatever? So sometimes we have this superficial need or question, and then you have to drill it down a little bit and kind of go a little bit deeper. That's how I find I use the cards the best. If you're not sure, you can ask your original question, but you could also ask and say, like, am I missing something here? And then you may pick a card and it would be like, okay, so let's not focus on material things, Christine, let's focus on what really brings you happiness. So it does make a difference, the deck that you use, I find. There are certain decks that are great for different types of reads. So choosing your deck carefully, or if you're gifted a deck, same thing. I do have some. So I have one, it's Angel Answers, and this is Doreen Virtue. This is before she shifted. So I don't know if anyone knows Doreen Virtue's journey, but she now no longer endorses her cards and anything that she does because she's, I think, born again Christian, or she's Reformed Christian and not into the oracle cards. But I do work with them because the energy when they were created is there for me, and that's why I use them. But this deck with the Angel Answers, I really like when it's something more concrete and I want to know. I notice more and more with spirit, it's not necessarily about getting a predictive reading of timelines, but it is nice. And there are some in the deck that talk about in the next few weeks or in the next few months, like, or it's coming. So if you want timelines and you want a little bit more of answers, so I'll give you, does anyone have a question? I'm going to do a demo and pick a card. So I will cleanse them. I shuffle. Somebody, if you believe, you can get jumpers that will jump out of a deck. I tend to just go by feel. Sometimes I pick a deck up and I'm like, I want to pick a card. I can go by numerology sometimes 8 times, and I'm very, on purpose when I'm shuffling. Other times cards will just kind of pop out. I might do a 1, 2, 3. It depends. I always trust. Always trust that it really doesn't matter how many times you're going to shuffle, that you're going to get the information that you need when you're grounded and centered. So does someone have a question that might relate to, just so I can show a card in this deck and show a few different decks? No one has one question? Okay. All right, I'll ask my own question. Oh, Mel. Are you going?
My question either feels superficial or too deep. And the too deep ones would touch a nerve in this setting.
We go superficial.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Okay, well, will he text?
Okay. Will he text? Let's find out.
And I'm not being explicit about who he is here, I guess. I'm setting myself up to fail.
Well, whoever he is, there's someone better. There's something better.
Oh, well, I love that.
But don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. So to me, then I go, doesn't matter if he's going to text or not. There's something, right?
Good deal.
So
yeah.
That's a good one. I like that one. But look, this is a card within the next few months. I just wanted to show as an example. So had maybe that person, you know, the right person or something like that, it's like information, okay, within the next few months. This is another card, just as an example. Reconsider. So this is why I like the deck, opportunity. And they have a no with an exclamation mark, which I love. And then there's a no, just a period. Oh, I'm back. Yeah, it was freezing, right? So there's a no with an exclamation mark, and then there's a no with a period, which I love. You're ready. It's up to you. Look for a sign. Ask for help from others. Be assertive. Peaceful resolution. So these are a little bit, I find, like when you're just looking for those quick, easy ones. And it's I find a nice deck for that. I really like it because sometimes I'm like, what? I want to know, you know, want to know timelines. I want something. And then if I get something like there's something better, then I know I'm like, it doesn't even matter. And right there, it just feels like so nice to go, or if it says like, just wait or be assertive, then I know, okay, I'm going to go after it a little bit more. And usually it's just that confirmation, right? When we're picking a card, but that's an example of a deck when you're asking questions, a little bit more in the terms of answers that way. Opposed to, so this one I love, but for something different. And I tend to be not necessarily the kind of girl who's like superficial and I want to talk about the weather and this and that. But we have moments where we just want to know those things, right? We just have like questions or timelines, and that's okay too. The Starseed deck. So the Starseed deck, Rebecca Campbell, I find this is more, I'll use it when I'm looking at, you know, your soul purpose and something deeper and information. Like, what can I do right now in this moment, you know, that's going to move me more towards my soul purpose, my path. And it just gives me a little bit of hope. So I love the cards because I love the colors and the imagery. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight too. But I just want to share, you know, different decks for different occasions. So the one I just picked, saying that, going a little deeper, is Empathic Starseed, Energetic Sovereignty. So being a sovereign being. So that reminds me, okay, I need to reclaim my independence, you know, really standing in my power. Empathic Starseed is a lot of what I've realized. I've been working with a lot of clients that are Starseed, and I'm very empathic. I'm very sensitive. You know, people who work with me, my friends, my circle, absorbing what's not yours. So the cards, in case anyone doesn't have the deck, very light. So Starseed is more like, I don't know if you've heard of like Palladian or galactic, or like of star origin, I would say, of different planets, light beings, light consciousness, something different like that. And I have quite a few friends that are way more advanced, comes to mind, advanced, working with star seeds and galactic energy, I would say. But I resonate really well with this deck because it's so soft. It feels very angelic to me, very light. And I also believe that there's a consciousness beyond our reality. There's no denying, in my point of view, that there's something. I can't prove it. I can't, in a scientific world, coming from, Statistics Canada and a government world, be in that realm, but there's something that resonates for me. So I really like this deck for that, and something shifted when I started using this deck. So the second part of the question or response is absorbing what's not yours. And that's a lot about being an empath. Being an empath, we're sponges. So again, this is why it's so important for me when we're working with cards or any other divination tools that we will make sure we create the space, we are grounded and centered and aligned as much as we can be, and or we can ask for help, and that we are mindful of the questions that we're going to ask. And questions can be very leading. Questions can be biased. Sometimes a yes/no question is not really an accurate way. Sometimes if you have an open-ended question, then that's not very helpful. So that's why those things are important to me. But knowing these guidelines, they're just guidelines and suggestions, you're going to get a really good read out of it. Opposed to, and I mean, I'm not a wine connoisseur, but I know sometimes it's like people go for wine testing, like there's a certain way that you can swirl the wine and then you're going to really bring out the flavors. And there's just that expertise and knowledge. So working with these cards, the more and more you work with them and journal with them, your experience, you'll find they're really amazing tools. And sometimes some of them are so bang on. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. It's, you have a question, you ask it, and it's like, yes, that's so clear. But working with the right deck for you, and I'm just using the word right, not that there's a right and wrong deck, but working with a deck that is for the energy that matches your question or matches the energy you want to bring in. That feels light and good to you. So this deck feels really light. It's a lot of pink and purple and soft and feminine energy. So that feels nice. I find tarot sometimes it can be really, it's very direct. And so it might be a little bit more harsh energy, harsh truth, like, that good friend you love, but you're like, oh my God, because she's a little too direct. Maybe that's a little bit more with the tarot. So I like to bring the oracle cards because of that, because it's a little softer edge. But saying that, working with oracle cards, you also have a bonus of the imagery. And most oracle card designers are really great with the imagery. So this one here is a mirror, and it's almost like as if she's like going through the mirror, And as an empath, that reflection of what's coming back to you, just knowing it's not all you, is very interesting, and I find it's important information. So I really like this deck for that. I'm trying to think something else. I'm looking for another type of card that she has. Star bathing, crystal grid, transmission, activation, light body. So working with star energy, working with the moon energy. Very, very nice deck for that. She also has another one. I have one up there. The light, the workers of the light, I think. This one is the Starseed Oracle. But again, Oracle with the pictures. And then you have the combo. So I actually have a tarot deck, again, from Doreen Virtue. Anyone that has this deck? And it's more with the angels and the tarot. So I like it because of that. JC asked the question, sorry. Oracle, angel, and tarot. So oracle cards are with more pictures. Usually you have a lot of writing at the bottom, you'll see. They typically go more like 44, a deck size. And tarot is, I mean, I don't know when it dates back, but I mean, we're talking a long time ago. This deck here, the tarot, is 78 cards. And typically you have like your cups. your cups, your wands, your swords, and then that's how, you know, different by different numbers, and there's a whole guideline and system that tells you specifically with each category. So cups is usually abundance, you know, like 8 of Cups, or representing bringing in the energy of water and earth. This one here has kings, high priests, um, queens, so bringing in the water. Um, I believe that authors do imprint their energy into the decks. I don't think that's weird. I think that's like with anything. Um, but I do believe that's something that I work with. So that's why I said with Doreen Virtue, some people now are like, I will not use her decks because she's just in a different space. But I resonate that when she created this back then, in this snapshot of time, this is the energy I'm connecting to, this person at this time. Colette Baron Reed, I really like her decks. She's similar to me in a sense of really bringing in more tarot, of like very truth-telling cards, very direct. And one card she has in one of her decks is all that glitters is not gold. And that card has saved me plenty of times because I kind of get distracted, and I'm very gullible. So like, people can be shiny and pretty and very charismatic, and I get sucked in or something, someone, and then I'm like, and everyone tries to tell me and warn me, and they're like, Christine, you're very nice, you know, but just be aware. I'm like, oh my God, no, they're so great, and da-da-da. And then, yeah, the rose-colored glasses come off, and sometimes not in a good experience. So I do believe energy is energy, you know, but the all that glitters is not gold has been fantastic. So Colette Baron Reed, absolutely love her cards. I think Tammy has a really nice deck too with, and I don't know her energy as much, but Diane Cooper with the animals and the angels and stuff. So angel decks are similar to the Oracle, I find. And Oracle is really just working with the concept of tarot, except people are now expanding it. So people are doing like the Starseed decks. I think personally there's so much inspired downloads and information just to be a tool to help people. And I think that's why we see more and more decks now. Like there's an abundance. In the beginning, you would see just a few of the key players who would have decks. And now you go to chapters or wherever and you see tons of different Oracle cards that people can create. This one here, I like it because it bridges, you know, it's an angel tarot deck, so it's a little bit softer. But I find this is a little bit deeper. Does anyone have a question? Susan, no. You're looking maybe, no. Tammy? Cece? Okay, I'll ask.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead, sure.
I'll ask another one.
It can be superficial.
Is the person I'll be speaking with tomorrow someone I'm meant to continue collaborating with?
Okay.
In the morning.
In the morning specifically. Gifts of money, time, or effort, new career opportunities, receiving a loan, or paying off debt. So that to me is a yes, in the sense of the collaboration can bring you money, be worth the effort for you. It's interesting too, because I always say like Mel has an elemental or fairy energy, and it's a fairy card.
Oh, really?
Let's see. Yeah.
Interesting. And sorry, can you read that one more time, just slower at the end?
Gifts of money,
yeah,
time, or effort. But it's a gift. New career opportunity.
Okay.
Receiving a loan or paying off debts.
Oh, receiving a loan. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a loan, but okay, cool.
No, receiving a loan or paying off debts. So abundance coming in. The other way, and I want to talk a little bit about this, and we're going to practice if you have a deck after, is I like to look at the picture, and that's the difference with the Oracle card, is that it's an illustration that tells a story. So sometimes you'll look at it and you'll read it and you'll be like, okay, I'm not really resonating with the words, but you can look at the picture and get an imagery and it starts to tell a story. So in this one, again, like I said, I would seem a little bit more elemental. The fairy has wings. So to me, that opportunity has, you have the opportunity tomorrow in the collaboration that something can take flight. Like you can like take off the ground. So to me, that's encouragement that it's going to bring abundance, because it's also bringing the element of gold, and the scales in the picture are equal. So to me, that makes me think like, okay, there's equal contribution, opposed to a scale like this or like this one way. It's this way. It's like, okay, an equal. So not only am I looking at and reading the words, but I'm looking at, is there a number in the card? Bring in numerology. So there's a 6. It's a 6 of earth. Smells very earthy. So to me, it would be like, get grounded for your collaboration before your meeting so that you know, yes, this is it. Now, is it just this person? I don't know. For me, if I was investing a lot of time and money and it was something really big, I would maybe do a couple cards around that and then checking in with the energy and then getting really clear on deeper in the question is like, is it the idea? Does it have to be this person? Maybe it's the idea, right person, I don't know, right? So those are questions. If I was unsure, then I would follow up and ask a second or a third. Sometimes you can even do like a 5-card pull when it's when you're really doing something bigger. So, you know, is the collaboration going to be successful? Is it the right person? Is it the right timing? So tomorrow you have the meeting, it goes really well, but there's something and you're like, something, I'm not sure. Then you follow up with another question. Whatever that uncertainty is that's there, you know, you would follow up. Earth to me is very grounding energy, right? So connecting to the earth, making sure you're grounded when you make the decisions, make sure you're grounded when you're connecting. So when you're meeting with the person, that you're grounded so that you're able to be more aware of the signs. So in an oracle card, this is the bonus you have of looking at the illustrations and color, imagery. Those are all key points that I look at. So first, numerology, 6. 6 for me is very important for standing in my power. That's my numerology. But if you're unsure, go look it up. You know, Google like numerology or angel numbers for 6. Earth, what does earth mean to you? You know, are you feeling grounded in this collaboration? Are you feeling, you know, like that solid energy? Green is always abundance, you know, like it's usually money, right? Green is also heart chakra. Is it aligned in your heart chakra? Is this something spiritually aligned in business that you see yourself doing? Is that in alignment? Because it could bring you money, but is it going to align in your heart, right? And is that important to you? So that's something I would ask if we were doing a further session, and I would get you to check up. But the energy of the card is very light. So for me, that's a yes. If you want to follow, you could then go into, like I said, the other cards. There's also blue in the picture. So we know from blue, throat chakra. So in a collaboration, in a meeting, speak up, speak your truth, make sure you have a conscious, kind conversation. Bring in the gold element. Again, gold, money. The fairy energy, very, very light energy. Hang on one second. I'll pause myself. Okay, and now what I'm going to...
This one has like, I don't know, the third eye kind of activated.
Nice. Well, and that's the thing, right? So you're looking at the card. That's how you start to decode it. So just like we've been practicing when we receive messages in the meditation, and you know, a song will come through, a lyric will come through, there's something. So right there, you're looking at the card, you're looking for as much information like a detective that you can. So when you get a new deck, it's always advisable that you go through and really start to get comfortable with each one. But I'll be honest, I'm kind of impatient, and most times, I'll be honest, I just dive in. But there have been times where I'm like, okay, each card, and I just go in and I start to study it and look at it and get a feel, but not often, if I'm 100% honest. So you have to know what your style is, but if you want to get good and comfortable, that's the best way. Then you can read the guidebooks. So the guidebooks are a really nice addition, but like Susan, you mentioned something really important, and that's, it's the person's interpretation, and it's the person's, written expression at that time. So I'm always really mindful, and the best mentors I've ever had. So I did an amazing 9-month class with Laura Traplin, and, the best mentors I've ever had have always said, what does it mean to you? And then also getting outside of it, then expanding bigger, what does it mean to that person? So today I was doing a session for a client, and I kept hearing like 6 degrees of separation, 6 degrees of separation. And I don't know what it is. And she couldn't really relate to it. I was like, I know it's important, but I'm just like, I'm going to take it and park it for you because I couldn't get it. So when you look at these cards, try to look at it with that eye. So often we'll just pick a card and then we read it and we're like, nah, we can take it or not. But if you look a little deeper, you can see those things. Like you see the third eye, the celestial, when I think of a third eye, I think of someone's inner knowing. And if you know Tammy, and the concept, just briefly what I heard was, daring to be different. Well, when you tune into your soul purpose, you're okay being a bit different. You're a pioneer, that you're not like everybody else. And then if you believe and you're more open or interested in like starseed energy or light energy, you could take it a step further and, kind of link it in that way of like being more open, and maybe not quite fitting in like other people, or, like Harry Potter. I love it, like muggles, right? So, and being okay. And then all of a sudden it seems lighter. You don't feel so heavy anymore because you're different. You just kind of go, I am different, and that's really cool. Like, that's special. The world needs more different people. And that's a really easy way, a one card, and how amazing it feels. So our cards can be wonderful tools, that encouraging friend, that kind of cheerleader for us, depending on the decks that we use. So I tend to play with the decks, and I tune into, oh, hi, sweetie. Yeah, we're having the kid energy tonight. The girls want to be around us, next generations. But I tend to be mindful what deck I use for different things. So this is warning. This is where, addiction can come into play of having decks. I don't even know how many decks I have now. And some I buy and I really just, I'm like, nah, I don't resonate. I could honestly just pass them on. Then you have other decks. So Gabby Bernstein has a deck, and does she call them, what does she call them? She calls them Super Attractor. Hers, she doesn't call Oracle deck, but it's kind of that, where it's more of like an affirmation type of card, right? Or something that's gonna, she calls them Super Attractor cards. So this for me is like when I want to know, like, hey, what can I do in, an everyday thing? So this type of a card is really nice for an everyday card. It's a little bit lighter. Again, still you can work with the illustrations. So this card, I just kind of did a global for all of us. Instead of worrying about the future, I know all is well when I'm aligned in the moment. That is a beautiful card. You could receive any day, right? And you just remember, okay, come back into alignment. There's a picture with the moon. So working with the lunar energy, it is a full moon this week. So I would know and go, okay, even with the full moon intensity that's going on, I'm going to stay in alignment. I'm going to stay in my purpose. Purple, you're working with your third eye and your soul star chakra. So your soul purpose. When you're in alignment, it's so much easier to not sweat the small stuff, to be different, to know that this is going to pass, and just to kind of ride the waves that happen and the intense times. So this type of card, I would, and I often do, I'll leave it out for like the week, or I'll leave it out for the day, and then every day pick a card. So you could do a really nice thing that I've seen, you know, other people offer, and it's something we could do in here. You could do like a card a day, and then see what theme you have for the month. That's really fun. So, you know, you pick like, okay, dare to be different. And then the next day it's like, okay, so what's it going to take to have the courage and the strength to be different? Because it's cool to be different. And some days it's darn hard, right? Like people look at you like, what? You know, what are you doing? I had friends, and now everyone's like crystals and oils. And I'm like, like in 2003, you thought I was crazy. So, you know, now 2020, I was like, did you know crystal? I'm like, yeah, I know about crystals. But did you know chakras? I'm like, yeah, I know. You thought I was crazy. And now you're all into it. So, you know, what would give you the courage, right? What would give you the strength? So something like this, like an affirmation deck or lighter oracle deck would help. I believe I'm worthy of feeling good. Again, it brings in the moon energy. You can see the moon and the stars. So working more with like a red chakra, that's your root chakra. That's belonging, worthiness to belong. So you can see how you could take a core theme or a core wound or something that's going on in your life and really pick a card every day for a month and build on it. And that's when you start to get into the deeper healing, when you're really wanting to. And if you don't, it's okay. You don't need to. That's just one way you can work with the cards. And it's something I wanted to offer that's a little bit different that I don't always necessarily hear other people talking about. But that's how you can do it. You'll know you're overdoing it when it's that desperate feeling. You know, I gotta pick another card. Is this the right guy? Is this the right job? Is this the right, do I do this? Do I not? There's a sense of hyperness, anxiety that's attached to it. There's an energy. You see it in yourself. You can see it with other friends. I have some friends and they're like, can you pick a card? And some of them are like, no, I can't. I'm like, let it simmer. Like, give it a day. Let it sit. You'll feel that with yourself. It's almost like an impatience, you know, when you have that energy. Sorry, I have to. So that's working with the lighter decks. And then you have, you know, other angel decks that you can work with. One that I really like for another person that I haven't mentioned, Alana Fairchild. I really, really, really love Alana Fairchild's work. She again does a little bit more light worker. And I'll do one more question if somebody has a question, because I want to show the deck because I really like it. Lourdes? Can I pick on you? Do you have a question?
So I want to ask about if I should go back to working full time. I'm not sure how to put my question because it's like, should I go back to an office job full time, I guess.
So is it an office? Is it working? Like, is it going back to work? Is it going back full time? What is really important out of that? Would it be
going back full time, I guess. Yeah, going back
full time? So it doesn't necessarily matter the location, but it's like it's full time. Yeah. Would that be in your highest and best?
Yes.
You know, what would it bring you? I'm not sure if this is the right deck, but we'll use it. Okay. So I got life path, which is interesting. I don't know if you want more babies.
Oh, yes, I do.
There's babies. So life path, that would make me believe, yes, when it's something that you would feel aligned with, you know what I mean? The fact that there's baby, I got distracted. So I'm like, babies, I got distracted. So when I see that, I would ask further questions. You know, financially, would it be beneficial to go back full time, get benefits, and then you can grow your family with more ease and grace that you don't have a financial strain? Would that be a benefit for you?
I've been dreaming that I'm pregnant, like this week, twice a week. I mean, like one I was holding my belly and just walking, you know, and the other one I was looking into a pregnancy stick and I would see like a second blue line. So I'm like, maybe.
That's funny. Well, I would not be surprised if it's coming soon. It does say 20 and life path. Also on the card, it's interesting. So looks like a version of an angel, like an archangel, like breathing life into these children. And there's one, two, not to scare you. It doesn't mean you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children, but just know that there's an opportunity for more. Let's put it that way. There's abundance there. So then I would ask, okay, would working bring you closer to that? You know what I mean? In a sense of bringing you the financial means to have more children, you know, or is raising your family, being home right now, that's your life path. So I'm a little curious on that. That's why I said this deck may or may not be the deck. This one is a light worker, and it goes right to like more soul purpose. And you see how fast it did that. So it's almost like if you can find your job that would be part of your alignment and your soul path and purpose, then that feels like really light. It would be infused. That would also be in balance and alignment with you having a family. So that there could be flexibility or there could be growth, and kind of thinking that in mind. So thinking if you're taking a job, like, and maybe it's just like, oh, I just need it for now, and then I'm going to raise my family, right? Like some people will do that. And then the other card I picked was an invitation to connect. So I would connect with the energy, and really, I feel like you need to get clear on if you really want to go back and what that would look like. But to ask yourself what's really important for you. Like the work-life balance, do you need the money? You know, is it something, a career where you can see yourself in longevity and bringing children into more children, you know, like having a bigger family, these types of things. So I would start to, you know, like I said, get deeper in the question. And I think you need to do this work first before I can ask any other question, because I don't feel you're clear on it. So the cards aren't going to give you what you want. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So that's a perfect example of how we can ask a question, but then it's like, okay, that was a surface. We needed to go deeper. You know, really, if you know, look back, like when your children are raised, how do you want to see yourself? Do you want to see yourself a mom that's involved, that has more time? Do you want to see yourself where, you know, children are like, you know, needing to be at daycare or school? And because it's a 2020 year with COVID, we don't know what's happening, right? So a lot of people are having to juggle working full time, having children at home, not having sometimes daycare's being closed, and different things. So I think really take the time right now to go a little deeper in the questions, and then you could ask some more around that. Let me see. So questions just popped up, and then I can do meditation. Oh, what deck is that? Yeah, this is a really great one. So this one is called the Light Worker Oracle. Guidance and empowerment for those who love the light. So it's, I'll move that down.
Will Stacy ask, like, what's her soul purpose? That's a big question, but
it's a big question, Mel. I don't know.
I'm curious to see what happens.
We could start the journey. You want to start, Stacy? I'll ask. Okay, we'll see what it says. So, soul purpose. Oh, that's interesting. Eternal now. Looks like very wise wisdom. So 3 for me is divinity, and that tells me in relation to soul purpose, it doesn't necessarily, I think, in a sense, translate if you're thinking like how that could be linked in a job, if that's what you're thinking. But in terms of soul purpose, eternal now is this lifetime. It's really important for you to make that heart connection to the divinity, whether it's a divine, you know, God, your infinite being, whatever that may be, what that looks and feels like for you. His hands on heart. and is opening up. So that also tells me about connecting to the heart and opening up to receive the information of the universe. And as soon as I do that, I can feel my palm, my hand start to be activated. So being open to receive in a way that, and maybe this word might not resonate for you, as like a channel, but to open up to divine information, to be in there. And, you know, typically men, the white beard, the Moses look, is really tapping into that deeper wisdom, like really deep wisdom. So, you know, maybe for you, how's the weather and superficial stuff is really not your, like, that is not your lifetime purpose to come here and, like, you know, be obsessed about the latest fashions and whatever. It's like, no, I'm here for something bigger and something deeper, and to connect with people, to connect with animals, to connect. So I'm just asking, sometimes when I'm like, hey, that's interesting card, I'm like, okay, what else? So I'll ask the what else. Master healing, so 33. Again, the 3 is divination, it's Trinity. So planets, and there's like a book, like a open book, like a book of knowledge. So your journey here, your soul purpose is to master healing. So either going into the healing modalities or for yourself. I think it might be both. I think when you've mastered it for yourself, you're then going to go on. And I think it's going to link in as you get older. Like, you know, I picture like an older, like kind of witchy, like the gray hair and that like wise old woman that people go and get, you know, a reading from, or some kind of connection in that information. But that may be, you know, if you don't connect easily with people, it might be why you may feel different sometimes, because you're like, yeah, really, I'm asking, how are you? Not like, how are you? It's, you know, it's like a deeper, you know, like what's going on in your life? Who are you? What do you want? Like, you know, at a really deep core. But 3 and the 13 adds up to another 3. That's, to me, your life path as a master to connect in. It's also, I always tune into the 3 vibration, like the Trinity of Jesus, you know. So if you're open and to believe in the masters, you may want to look up for like ascending masters, like Jesus, Buddha, you know, Mary Magdalene, all the heavy hitters, and kind of looking at their message and how they brought it as a pioneer, and how can we do that as a light worker in every day. You know, sometimes people think, oh, I have to go and I have to like open up and be a healer in this line. I actually think, you know, and this is really, I mean, maybe this is the more the analogy for you is, you know, Jesus was with the people, you know, he was giving and of service, and most master healers were like very self-sacrificing. I don't think we have that anymore, where we need to have such a high level self-sacrifice to master healing or to allow and facilitate for healing in the world, but that the mastery of the wisdom and sharing it, and how we can, you know, be in everyday life, you know, and not be off in a cave somewhere where you're not accessible, but in real day life. And you probably are a counselor and someone that is very much a go-to person, either at work or with your friends. I'm sure I see you as being that pinnacle of wisdom, and maybe that sounding board, and not motherly, but kind of like, okay, well, you know what you should do, you know what you want to do, and you know what is probably best for you, opposed to some people who just, you know, be in a more superficial. It's like, does that resonate? That's what's kind of coming through. So when you're doing the cards like that, that's the practice. You practice by, you look at, like I looked at the number, I looked at the imagery, and then don't be shy to, when you're practicing, and to journal, like what is your first thing that will pop up? Like I said today, 6 degrees of separation with my client. It just came in. And information like that, I know now is important. I just may not know in that snapshot of time when the information comes through why it's important. So then you can ask other questions like oracle cards. You can use your pendulum. You know, is this important? Yes. Why is it important? pick another card, you know, work with a different deck. You know, if you're not getting down into the layers, like if I was doing a full-on reading and we were like going further, Lourdes, I would be like, okay, so let's drill it down, and I would switch the deck, because we know the life path, we know the purpose, and it's like, okay, how are you going to get there? What's that going to take? And maybe it's coming more into alignment, getting centered and really truthful with, okay, what do I really want? Do I want to go back to work full time? Do I really? Is that at my highest and best? What do I want my lifestyle to be like? Like, how much money do we need? You know, do we want more children? Like, how many hours do I want to work? And really just kind of like taking time to decipher it. Shuffling the cards is important, but I think I heard Stacy say one popped out. And I love that she's like, this is it. Like, and how did you know that, Stacey? You just knew, right? You're just like, I think you don't even have to ask because one popped out. So how did you know? Is that it?
I just thought that Tammy probably had a question that she didn't quite know how to word, and then if the answer already popped out, maybe she didn't need to know how to word it, so it would like ease her pain of trying to figure out how to say it if I just like told her what the answer was.
And that just came in, right? It was just like spontaneous, like it just like whoop.
And I didn't like, it didn't just a little bit popped out, it like jumped out of the deck, like you said. Like sometimes they stick out a little bit, but this one was like, no.
It's a jumper, yeah.
And that card, it makes me think of the Lion King. I don't know why, but my first image when you see like hyenas, and then there's so much that happens around that, right? Like, I don't know, that movie is kind of empowering.
Exactly. So you can see how the card, immediately Stacey got a read on the card. She had information. Outside Lion King came in. Empowerment, standing in your power, right? So you can start to tell the story when you're picking an oracle card and get more information by being open to that, by using your imagination, by being perceptive to what comes. The fact that, okay, it jumped out, it popped out. Oh, interesting. And it's that little thread that you're kind of grasping. And those are always like the best readings I give myself and other people, but I'm just like, oh, like that's so good. And it's often quick like that. When I'm forcing it, it's like forcing, you know, if you're on a blind date and it's just not flowing and you're like, okay, this is like really not, like you just have nothing to say. Don't keep going, right? Step into your power. Yeah, frozen. Yeah, I love it. So read the stories, read the cards, and know that cards tell a story. So tell a story. Use what's on the card, use additional information, like exactly what Stacey did. That's beautiful. It's like immediately she saw it and she's like, I thought of the Lion King and hyenas, right? So that's going to come in. That's how you want to work with it. If you're doing a 2 or 3 or 5 card, you can get a better picture of a story, because you could say like Lori's question, like the original question, should I go back? It's like life purpose, babies. Ooh, okay. So, you know, would this be in the highest and best? Is this job going to contribute? Will this job contribute? Will working full time contribute to me, you know, raising my family, to our happiness? Not just finances, but, you know, like people can work like 50-hour days, right? And may or may not be happy. Using multiple decks. I will, like right now I have 6 decks sitting here. So I will absolutely pick different decks if I want to go deeper. I don't always do 3 or 5 card my everyday, or I don't actually do every day anymore, but before I used to. But yeah, absolutely, you mix and match. Just like, you know, you would work with an essential oil. You can blend others. I do believe there's a synergy that happens when you start to do that. It's like when you work with like a crystal grid and you bring in flowers, it amplifies. So why not, right? Like, why not bring in, for example, we probably could, I wish we had more time. I'm like, I just need more time. But wouldn't it be fun? And maybe we could do this for this last week. You could kind of build on it. Like Stacey could pick one card of her animal deck. I could use my tarot deck. Susan has a different deck. Lourdes has like the Starseed or the Lightworker deck. Melanie has a different deck. Tammy has a different deck. And then you could see one card from each deck, and you could kind of, and you don't have to even share your question. You could just say like, okay, can whoever wants to play this week pick a card for me, and then journal and see how you can tie them all in as a story. So if anyone wants to do that for homework this week, I'm game. I will do a card for everybody, absolutely. If anybody else wants to jump in, you can just offer it up. And then we can all just share like, okay, I'm going to use this deck. Try not to use the same deck. If you have no other deck and you're like, I have to duplicate it, that's okay too. But why not, right? It's like a meal. Life is like that. We're not meant to eat a bowl of chicken. I mean, unless you're like a weight, doing those weightlifting, and I don't know, what are bodybuilders who eat like boiled chicken, and maybe broccoli every day. That's not really, I think our journey here. It's like, it's meant to be flavorful and delicious and synergistic. Like, wine gets paired with food. So why not? Why not this week see the difference in using your cards by setting the stage, create the space. Smudge, use music, right? Use some of those frequencies we talked about last week, getting into the heart of the question for yourself. So I would do it for yourself this week, and I would do it for another person. So we can all share that. And then journal about it. Take some time and reflect. And you can do that every day and just kind of go, okay, more information. And I didn't really answer it, Susan, but I'm going to look at it later because I just took a mark at what you put in this week. But Jackson, I'm like, oh, interesting, Jackson, right? And then another song, it's like, sorry, Miss Jackson, dude. That's coming in my head now. But it's if you read it and you're like, I don't get it. Same with an oracle card. Sometimes you get it and you really go, wow, it's fast. And other times it needs to sink in. You just need to sit with it and go, okay, I'm not getting this. I need more information. Like Laura says, like, oh, this is deeper than just so I'm like, I'm going to stop it here. You need to get clear, and then we can ask more questions. We can go in. You can go even further, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is, sorry, did anyone have any questions there? Instructions. You can absolutely, the way people work with the decks, they're offering guidance. Unless, the only time I've really seen some decks, and I think it is, I have it at home, I can maybe look at it, but there's one on archetypes, and that one is a really particular deck that I haven't even read because I'm like, wow, it's so complex. And then I just play with it like I want to. And then I'm like, when I'm ready to find out like the rules of how to work with the deck, I'll do that. But I'll be honest, I always believe that we have the power and so much information inside us. So like, I honor and I appreciate the person who has created the deck, but I also know that it's like music. Someone will write a song with an intention and with lyrics, but it's going to hit my heart different for different reasons. And I really believe the same thing for oracle cards. Just like with essential oils, some people love lavender, some people hate lavender, and that's okay. And you can say, well, you need to use lavender this way, but for that person, it doesn't resonate. So I don't think you could ever create something that, unless it's a very specific way. Most decks will have past, present, future. So you have your 3 card. You see what they call like a Celtic spread, or you'll see like a 5 card. I've done a few for clients where it's like I've done like, for their birthday, like a year. You can pick cards for a year, so you do 12, or you can pick 1 a month, that sort of thing I've done. But there's so many fun things. And you can even go on Pinterest. Pinterest has a ton of different kind of layouts that are really fun. But if you want to learn, absolutely. Take one deck, read the book, read the way that the author wants to use it, and then check in and be like, okay, is this the only way for me? Yes, no. For me, I always get, like Susan was saying, like, I enjoy bringing in multiple decks, and I often do that. Sometimes just out of simplicity, I'll only work with one deck, and it's just really, sometimes it's just for time for me. But it is fun. just like different crystals. Any other questions? No, did you have a question? No.
Guys, I have a question. When you say that I have to be clear, like we have to be clear with what we ask or want, what do you mean? Like, do we have to like soul search what is it that we want? Or because I was like, oh, but I want guidance in that, right? Like, should I use the cards to get guidance into what is that I want, or should I know that and not look for answers in cards?
I always think it's good if you know yourself, but I also can be honest that sometimes I'm like, I don't know. And when I pull a card, or if I do it for clients, I have what I call like the clarity and card sessions. The cards will give you clarity as well when you don't have it, because there's something about contrast. You can read a card and then go, oh, wait, no. So say, for example, you pull a card and it's like, everything is encouraging, like, yes, to go back to work and full time, it's going to be success and da da da. And everything in your body is like, oh my God, that's not the answer I wanted to hear, but you didn't know it until you picked that card. Do you know what I mean? It's like, maybe Mel, when she's like, is he going to text? Is he not? It's like something better. And she might have been like, no, I really want him to text. So maybe I get to text him because I really want, like, I want to be like I'm fishing and do a catch, right? So it gives you information. It's like, if it was light for Mel, like something better, like, oh yeah, okay, that's awesome. Like, see you later, buddy. Like, there's something else out there, and it's lighter. That's information. It gives you more clarity that, okay, maybe I'm not that attached if he calls or texts. Like, maybe it's, there's a lot of fish out there, so I'm good. But if you get that, like, something better and I really want that, then you can go, okay, so that's really important to me. That's interesting. Maybe I need to make a move. Maybe I need to invest a little bit more. So the cards will give clarity. I do, as much as you can, try to get clear with the question. And then if you're not, then you work with the cards. That makes sense. 1 second. Full moons, children, so much fun. Thank you all for understanding. If it's okay, I know it's our last call. I'm going to do just a little grounding in this, but what I would like to do is really play this week if you want, because I think the fun is getting in the cards. Who's on board for that? Let's just get in agreements. Is everyone okay? Yeah? Okay, a little bit. Susan, yeah? Okay, that'll be fun. All right, so what I want you to do is think back to all of the weeks, what we learned. I know it's probably, sometimes it feels like so long and so short, right? It's been such a fun journey. And when you're working with the cards this week, first giving cards to others. Yeah, it's safe. We're all good here. We know. This is our playground. Yeah, we know. It's not food. You're not going to poison anyone. If it was food, maybe. No, just kidding. But take a little piece of every week if you want. Oh, those are your first two? Yeah. So take a piece of what we've been learning along the way. I want you first to start with creating the space, okay? Really create the space. Work with what we did in the first week of clearing, smudging, being grounded, aligning. Bring in the sound. If you have essential oils to work with an essential oil that resonated with you. Bring in a crystal from our crystal class. If you're unsure and you want to add, bring in your pendulum, and you can ask, like, is this, is this in the highest and best for Tammy, like this card in the message. I got a yes, right? That's okay. I don't judge you. If you have more than one, I'm like, that's good for you. I often joke I need another wife, but another husband, sure. Why not? Judgment-free zone. Oh, that's great. One can massage you, you know. But yeah, so work with your pendulums, bring in the pendulums, bring in the sound, you know, bring in all these. Look at how you're asking the questions, you know, be mindful of how you're wording the questions and articulating them for the kind of responses that you're getting when you're getting it and the reflection. So it was really a way to build on learning how to use these oracle cards in the same way. Bringing the sound activation. Stacy using an example of the Lion King. Sure, it's a visual, but maybe if she heard, I can't do the justice the song, but you know the opening, you know, or if I could ask my daughter to sing it, but you know, or like the Circle of Life, or any of those songs from the Lion King coming in, you know, using that ability of opening up to sound, to your clairaudient auditory abilities and your clairvoyancy and stuff as we've been progressing in the weeks to work with the cards. So, you know, really, you can read the book, you can take a picture of the book, but for this week, I'd encourage you to be a little brave and courageous to go out on a limb and kind of just go with the vibe, go with the picture, you know, read the book, sure, read the pages, and then go, okay, what out of this is sticking for me, you know, or do a first vibe of the card. Like, okay, so Stacy saw the hyena, you know, empowerment, Lion King. You know, the third eye is like really knowing, you know, being in touch with your inner knowing that, and then how can you start telling a story for that, from that, and picking out words or something you hear, or, you know, just a feeling. When you're in that alignment, it starts to come, it's like having a clearer channel. That's the only way I can describe it. This is the practice. And full disclosure, you know, this is for, you know, practice. You know, I'm not going to go and move to Australia tomorrow because you pick a card and say, go to Australia. I'm going to tune in, although that would be fun if they would take me. But using our own responsibility, we all have responsibility to kind of tune in and does it resonate with us? Does it, if you find it might be a trigger or something deeper, then please do not be afraid to have a sideline conversation. Just say like, hey, can we maybe actually like pick up a phone or do a Zoom? Because if you're picking up energy and it's like, okay, this feels like maybe it might be triggering, or you just get a feeling like, hey, I don't want to post this in the book, it's private. Please don't be shy to do it that way too. Okay, so you don't have to just post it in the book, in the Facebook page. You can actually just share. And then tonight, if you have time after this call, or maybe before bed, or even tomorrow, being in this energy, I want you to pick a card for yourself. And I want you to tune in. And I want you to practice that first before you do anything for anyone else. And I want you to ask, you know, for that divine guidance. You can use the prayer that we used in the beginning, only for your highest and best, that we practice, and bringing that. So I'm going to do a really short grounding meditation, and then I want you to, if you can just take 5 minutes after the call, because I wanted to do it on the call, but then I'm also very mindful. Energy, we're all very intermingled, and because I felt earlier coming on the call, I could feel the intensity. I thought we need to do this alone. We actually need to anchor in our own energy after the call. And if you can't do tonight, do tomorrow or in the next day, that's okay too. But just to bring in this energy of what we would have done here for you. But I actually feel we need to be individual, and please, you can share in the group. Absolutely. You could ask, you know, more information. We can all pick cards after, but just for the initial card for yourself, I want you to do it at home alone. Okay, so just take a moment, closing your eyes. I want you to anchor in. Dropping your shoulders. Noticing your breath. I want you to imagine a beautiful golden white light at the core of Mother Earth, core of the crystalline grid. And I want you to feel a sense of connection, connecting to the plant medicine, the herbs, the crystals, animal kingdom. Feeling grounded and connected. I want you to pull the earth's medicine for healing, for divine guidance to the bottom of your feet. I want you to imagine this white, golden iridescence flooding your body, opening, clearing all chakras as you pull the energy and the light healing throughout your body. Up to your heart, your throat chakra, your third eye, opening, expanding your crown chakra towards the sun, the moon, the stars, and beyond. And I want you to remember your infinite being, your infinite self, the higher wisdom, priestess, goddess within. And if you need to release any worries or cares or concerns, I want you to let them go. Let the angels take them, light beings of love consciousness. As you connect to something deeper. And I want you to open up to a beautiful ray of light, noticing the color, showering your body at a cellular, molecular level. And knowing that all of these divine tools are here for us to guide us, to remember our truth, and to empower us to remember who we are, healed, whole, beautiful, connected, abundant. Standing in your power as you allow this ray of light heal your body, and pulling the energy from the sun, the moon, the stars, and beyond. I want you to bring this energy and pull it down to your heart, connecting, linking into an angelic or light being. Maybe it's Michael or Ariel. And just notice who shows up. Remembering that they're always with you to call in for guidance and help. So that whether you're using an oracle card, your pendulum, oils, crystals, or simply your inner wisdom, that you can always connect into this angelic presence, this light, consciousness, love presence, to know that you're divinely taken care of, even in the hard moments. To allow for more grace and more ease, to help you through the tough times, moments, to allow for divine healing and connection as you expand and open your heart. I want you to receive a gift. And I want you to take that gift from the last 8 weeks Maybe it's a word, a concept. And I want you to open to receive this gift. If it's not now, later tonight or tomorrow. Receiving this gift of knowledge, of power, connection, sisterhood, sacredness. The ritual of daily connection, weekly connection. And allow the grace of divine love to fill your body. To be held in the divine feminine. And breathing this in, dropping your shoulders as you connect. I want you now to share within our circle something you'd like to gift one another. Or give thanks, giving love, giving a warm embrace energetically. Including and bringing in the circle energy for Megan and Erica. May they be healed and whole. Sending love and healing, abundance, joy. Energetically sending this gift. Remembering that life is sacred in every moment. Our breath is a gift. This time together is a gift. And just feeling in gratitude for the contribution that everyone brings to the group. In our imperfections, we're perfect. We are divinely connected. And holding that sacred space for one another, I want you to take a moment and breathe in gratitude and love, connection, community, and consciousness. Remembering that these divine tools are gifts to remember, to connect, to expand our heart. And bring your hands into prayer position, breathing in and bowing to the divine within and to each other. Namaste. So thank you, ladies. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I find words are never enough for the journey. I cherish these times together. 8 weeks goes by so quickly sometimes. And a lot seems to happen. Sometimes we can't even soak it all in. But from my heart to your heart. So thank you. This is not goodbye. But please share in the group. I want you to share. Really feel, take this in tonight, do a card. What gift did you receive? What information? What would you like to give to each other? And if you feel comfortable, please either pick one person to share within the group or be courageous and open heart and share with the group. So I would really appreciate that. Sending much love, much gratitude. Thank you so much. And looking forward to connecting this week in the group. Have a good night, ladies.